Welcome to After Hours with the Donny Grubb Band. This is Kit. Thank you for hanging out with us during episode 5.
No. Hold on. I get the last one.
Okay, you can have the last one. Welcome to episode 5.
Is it 5 already?
Yes, it's After Hours with the Donny Grubb Band. Eventually, we're going to have a fancy little opening intro thing.
That was my responsibility, wasn't it?
Well, I think it's a team effort that we kind of dropped the ball on.
Totally
It's not like we haven't been busy.
I've been a little busy lately. If
Where
you
have you
guys
been?
haven't noticed.
Went to Canada.
No, we went to Canada.
Yes, we did.
You can't say Canada because I think that's another place, isn't it?
Nah, I don't think so.
It's Canadian.
I don't know if Canada is a place. I mean, sure, we could just say yeah, because, I mean, this is a pretty large planet we live on.
Okay. All right, cool.
So we got a buddy here, Scott Turn.
Hey, Scott.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
Hello.
Scott wasn't quite ready for this.
You know what you should do, Scott, though, for me is just angle your microphone just a little bit in.
There you go, just a tinkle.
There you go.
More towards the mouth.
There you go.
I got
That's
it.
starting
All
to
right.
sound good. So sweet. So we had a few days to digest what happened to us last week.
I haven't. Honestly, this is Thursday, so I have still not recovered from all of last week.
Dude.
Not only the constant movement, and so we did 13 shows in 4 days. 13.
Yeah, that was pretty ridiculous.
And so my head's buzzing from that, but the big thing is my ears haven't popped from coming down from the airplane descend.
Yeah, mine have. I'm feeling good from that. My throat's still fucked up.
Now my you can't say the F word.
I have so
It's a
many
family
times.
show.
It is not. We have explicit next
It's
to all
not
of our
live.
stuff.
Okay.
You can cuss.
Yeah, but my head's still all stuffed up. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, well, that was fine for me. My throat's all fucked up. And last night when I say last night, I mean this morning, when my wife was supposed to wake up around 6 a.m., I started, or I shouldn't even say when it was her last hour of sleep. You know how precious that is?
Yeah.
I was coughing like a motherfucker. I just could not stop. I just had so much coughing going on.
So I think my kids listen to this.
That's not my fault.
And you told me not to cuss.
Right. Now I
Two
feel bad
F-bombs
about
in.
giving Scott a whole
Here's
all
the
of a
funny
sudden,
thing.
I'm
Go
the
back
bad
and
guy.
watch the first 4 episodes and see how much I've cussed in that.
Yeah.
we should put a cuss counter on you.
We probably should.
Yeah.
But that'd be a good thing.
That'd be a
but-
good drinking game.
No, it
No,
wouldn't.
that would not be a good
Because,
game.
but yeah, I had 2 naps today because I couldn't wake up. Because
Yeah.
yesterday was okay. I think I was still on the get home the high, and then today I woke up back in America in the real world.
Yeah.
And had to do things and didn't work out.
Okay, so when I got home, I don't know about you guys, but so we got home Tuesday night, right? And I think I slept 10 hours straight, which is the most I think I've slept in a long time. So, but I woke up just as tired, I hadn't gone to sleep. So I ended up taking 2 4-hour naps yesterday. I took a nap today, and I still feel like I haven't regained yet.
I have maybe slept 6 hours at any given time.
Well, you have 2 very small twins at home, so
Yeah.
I think I'm napping
sleeping
on
for
the
you.
metric system.
Dude, I need to get a nap going on. It's imperative at this point.
yeah, you're kind of crabby.
Yes. I came home to a crabby wife, so
Our-
I'm like, okay, I guess
our-
this is what we're going to do.
Our first night back to the hitching post, and you were crabby.
I was crabby.
I wasn't
my
crabby, you know
amp
why?
didn't blow up and shit like yours did.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, man. Every time we come
Every
every time we come back from a big thing, we come home, something goes awry. So today for me it was my amp. I don't know what it is. I don't know how an amp can go wrong sitting in its case because we didn't take that amp with us.
No.
It just sat here in its case.
Did it
over
sit here, though?
in
Because you
storage.
brought it to the rehearsal spot at one point.
Yeah, I did. But I took it home after rehearsal, and then it stayed there in my garage until we got back from Canada.
With your kids that play guitar.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
But it looked like those tubes, because it looks like a few tubes went out, right?
I think so. I tell you honestly what it was, what I think it is. So I came back here yesterday to kind of load everything back in and try to get us all the heavy work done. And I loaded my amp in the back of my amp's in an anvil case. It's in a flight case, so it's protected. But I put it in the back seat of my truck, and as I was driving, I did hit the brakes and it fell over.
Ooh.
So I think that's what it was. But Who knows?
That probably did it.
I'll get it home tomorrow and I'll look at it and see. But in the meantime, I got, I'm playing through that awesome 71 Super over there, which is
but you were still excited that was all going down today.
I know, I was.
Donnie does really well if something goes wrong within the first set. Usually within the first song or two.
I can't help it. That first set, the first song is imperative to me. If the first song goes wrong for the night, then that just screws my whole night up. So not only did I not have my amp working right, some buddies of ours showed up tonight. Christopher Shayne and the whole troop showed up, and they're sitting here watching us while I'm having a freaking amp meltdown.
You know what though? They've all been there. I'm absolutely.
I know
sure.
we all have, but still, it doesn't help matters. But it was cool hanging out with those guys.
Yeah,
tonight.
It was awesome hanging out with those guys. Christopher Shayne's a cool local fella starting to do some cool stuff.
Yeah, bigger than local, man. They got a huge following. They're doing a lot of big shows. They just they're working on all their singles right now. They're not doing an LP thing, but they're doing singles.
A lot of bands.
Matt Sorum played drums.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
That's ridiculous. They were here tonight shooting a video in the bull riding arena for their single coming out in October, I believe. But yeah, Matt Sorum's playing drums on that stuff. Matt
Sorum's legit.
Being a Guns N' Roses fan, man, I geeked out over that. I love Matt Sorum.
Can't go wrong, Matt.
Not as much as Kit Haloff, but I like Matt Sorum.
Sorum's good stuff, man. He was around for a while. I think he played with some other bands too. I can't remember any of them off the top of my head
he was
now.
with Slash the Snake Pit, and he also did. I can't remember the name of the band that Slash did with all the Jane's Addiction folks.
Oh shit!
What was that? Anyway, he played in that also.
Yeah, so he's around. He's been around for a while, and now he's playing with.
And I think he's on tour with Guns right now.
Shayne. That's pretty awesome. Those guys are cool, man. It was really cool getting there was an awful lot of bro love, and I'm not opposed to it. I thought that was kind of cool, like having a little powwow with them afterwards and just.
Yeah, Dave's my buddy,
dude,
man.
Dude, you're awesome. You're awesome.
We did a show together at NASCAR
awesome.
last spring, was it? We did the NASCAR show together, and I was floored by their show, man. They put on a great show, real high energy, like roots rock kind of thing. It's a different zip code that we live in, but they are freaking awesome at what they do, and Dave's guitar playing is awesome. And after that show, we hooked up on Facebook and became good friends, and it was awesome to jam with them tonight. It was great.
Yeah,
thanks,
funny.
Dave.
It was funny when they all rolled in though, because none of them recognized me as a person in the band, because I got everybody that sits in front of me that apparently just nobody gets to see my face.
Well, I'm sorry about that, but I take up.
Hi, Ethan.
Okay.
Hi, Ethan. Scared the crap out of me right there.
Donnie thought you were the hitching post ghost for a second.
Hey, that thing is real.
It is real. I know it's real.
We've had some weird things happening here.
Yes.
I mean, with the lights off.
That sounded sexy there.
That was a little inappropriate.
No F-bomb.
Nothing weird happening, I promise.
Donnie's sipping on his...
Kid, talk to me, man. How was your week last week? Tell me.
My week was awesome. I had a fantastic week. That whole week was stupid good, except for the fact that I was just exhausted at the end of every single day.
Yeah?
But that was all right. I had a good time being exhausted at the end. Like you said, 13 shows.
Yeah, it's like going to the gym. You don't want to do it. I mean, well, except I did want to do it. And it hurts the whole time. You're working your butt off, but you get home and then you feel good about doing it. That's how I was. I drank very little and worked a lot last week, but when I got home, my body still hated my guts.
It was letting you know
but
that.
It was a good hurt.
It remembers
really
what you did last week.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Well, Scotty, did you have a good time last week?
I had a great time last week, and I think you were talking about you met your goal every day by your watch goal.
Yeah, my Apple Watch loved me last week.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure.
All my little circles were closed.
I'm pretty sure by 1 a.m, every night that we played, it said that I hit my goal for the day already.
I think we don't think about it because every stage is only about 500 yards apart.
Yeah.
But we're walking that quite a bit through.
Not only walking, but hauling gear
and 8 miles a day later.
Yeah.
You wonder why you're tired. And we got home. I don't think we got to sleep any day before 5:30 in the morning.
No. I think Scott and I were roommates last week. And what
that was awesome.
Our average getting home was 4:30 before we actually got into bed. Not together.
Very close though.
But yeah, so we were in bed by 4, asleep by 5 or so, and then up at 11, at the latest, and then right back to the festival. It was moving.
Yes. Again, I can't get over the amount of talent that was up there. Like,
Yeah.
Not necessarily just like the people from the States, but everybody from Canada. Like, it's just stupid the amount of talent that they have.
It's intimidating, but it's like a big warm blanket at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, being surrounded by such like accomplished, you know, musicians, people that are doing, you know, great things, you know, in music, and then, you know, having a relationship with those people in person. That's something that you can't really put into words. That's it's a pretty special feeling, and
yeah, man. Well, I mean,
love
like
that.
just like we've talked about Appaloosa a few times, but that was like a bunch of dudes that like we never met before. I mean, we might have met Charlie a little bit. Like, I don't think I did, but I think maybe you did and Cliff did last year.
We crossed each other last year, but we never really met.
So you met Charlie from Jackson Hollow because that's where he played with last year, but then he was with Appaloosa this year, and just like those dudes were just so cool. Those dudes are just like, be our friends.
Yeah. Charlie's amazing, by the way.
Yes. We can't stop
Yeah,
talking. Jake was awesome too. Yeah. Like all of them. Like Courtney was cool. That Jada girl, cool. Like that. Okay, there's this chick, Jada Mackenzie. I can't remember her second last name that she had there.
I don't remember either.
But anyways, that girl could sing, dude.
Yeah, so she got up and we were playing like the after hours party saloon stage, and I didn't know her yet. I mean, I knew of her, but I didn't know her. And she came up and did what was it? Tennessee whiskey with us.
Dude.
And it freaking floored me, man. That girl can sing.
Yes.
You know, it was hard to play guitar standing behind her because it was.
Yeah, you couldn't believe what you were hearing.
Yeah,
like,
that big old voice coming out of that little tiny girl.
She's so small. Like, she might be 4 foot tall if she was lucky.
11, maybe.
Maybe.
She's down there.
Yeah.
I tell you another surprise too was Charlie.
Oh yeah,
he was so quiet and so reserved and just carrying equipment. And then next thing I know,
he's standing on a bass. You know, so he played
spinning it.
Yeah, so he plays upright bass and electric bass. He's a great musician. At one point, I saw him. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at one point in this festival, I saw him wearing a hot dog outfit, standing on top of a stand-up bass.
I saw the
while
picture
playing his electric bass.
Yeah, I saw the
he
picture.
Was the mascot on the river stage for the hot dog vendor.
Is that what that was?
That's what that was.
That's fantastic.
He actually came over and got the hot dog outfit from the guy who was running the hot dog stand and put it on and then jumped on top of a bass.
Yeah, he's a true performer, man.
Dude,
he's a great guy.
I hope he got all the hot dogs he wanted all weekend.
I hope so too. I could say so many dirty things about that.
I don't think that's what he was looking for.
But yeah, he impressed the hell out of me.
Yeah, I told him the next morning. I talked to him and I said that was the biggest shock of the weekend was just because he's so quiet and so reserved,
timid,
and so nice, and then all of a sudden
when he's on. He's on
100%, and the next thing you know, he's carrying gear out and packing up and going home quietly.
Yeah,
right, skipping, you know,
great guy. Appaloosa, the whole band, they were all great.
Absolutely,
love them all.
I mean, then we keep talking about them, and I mean, we were there with all these like world class performers,
Yeah, so we shared a stage this week with Lee Brice, with Jason Aldean, with Brothers Osborne. Old Dominion.
I'm trying to think who else. We had a whole bunch.
Man, there was a bunch.
Still a blur.
I don't have my shirt on, so I can't look at who was on there.
Right.
But it was a stupid good lineup, and Appaloosa like absolutely blew us away, dude.
Yeah, it was awesome. They're a great band.
Yes.
And you played with them one night.
I did get to play with them.
So they had a drummer failure at one point where like their drummer was obligated somewhere else out of town, so he had to leave. So they had a gig that they needed a drummer on. Kit, being the adamant professional that he is, apparently.
He's a little sour about this.
I'm not sour. I'm maybe a little jealous, but so they Kit is asked to do a set with Appaloosa, and proud to say, absolutely nailed it. Songs that he never heard before, songs he didn't have any idea how they went. He nailed those things. I remember, like, there was one night where Appaloosa did an Aaron Goodwin song, Lonely Drum, and you don't know that song.
I've heard it a few times.
Handful
of times.
Nailed it.
Handful of times.
Tom McKillop, great producer, the guy that actually produced that album.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't know he produced that.
I think Tom did that album.
Probably.
Anyway, he sat over to the side and he's like, "How is he doing this? He doesn't know this stuff."
Jedi mind trick.
Jedi mind trick.
You all think I know this song.
I was proud of you.
Well, thanks, buddy. No, dude, it was a whole, like, everybody. It was like just talking about the effort that everybody put in that just was a part of Donny Grubb band, you know, like Scott and George and
everybody killed it.
Chad, like, were all very helpful. Like, it was so cool seeing that you guys just go in there and, like, whatever needed to happen at the festival, you were there on top of playing with us, you know.
Well, so, I think that comes from, like, Kenny Hess down, and, like, we've been there now 3 years, but everybody at that festival, it starts with him, where he works so hard, and there's so much energy that everybody that works at that festival puts into it. How can you not?
Well, it's not a joke because, like, last year, like we say he works hard, but I'm not joking. Like, last year, we got in like 2 days before the festival was set up, and Kenny was out there moving porta potties. Yeah, like, he's the dude that's, like, running the festival, and he's out there moving porta potties where he could absolutely have somebody else do it, but he's just like, well, it needs to get done. I'm going to go do it.
There's a reason why I'm very proud to know that man. He's got to be the hardest working guy in country music. You know, he works his ass off. Mm-hmm. You know, he pulls this whole festival together that he's been doing for years and has grown to immense size because, you know, he's the one that's out there, you know, with the knee pads and the gloves.
No, it's not a joke.
Building the things that need to happen. You know?
He is beat up by the time that he gets to his
first
night performance.
And not only to mention that not only is he building this festival, but then he goes out and performs and kills it. You know, and standing behind him, looking at thousands of people is such a proud thing for me, and to just to be a part of that work ethic that he has. You know, I mean, and everybody up there loves him. You know, Kenny Hess he's like Elvis. You know, as far as, you know, I don't know.
He's got those sweet moves too, like Elvis. You know?
He does, but I think and you guys talked to him a little bit, and that festival was the Mountain River Festival. Is that right?
The Merritt Mountain
Festival, and it went under, but he started building that kind of as a grassroots event, right?
Yeah, he picked that up, and he was doing that on his family farm, and then it moved to that location after
it like
they
the
went
Hess
under.
Hoedown or
Hess
something
Hoedown,
like that.
yeah. And
awesome name.
yeah, it is an awesome name.
I
kind of wish it would stick around. But what he has done with that whole thing is amazing. That's something that, like, a very small handful of people in this world.
I was gonna say, there's, like, I don't know anybody else that would be able to just do something like that.
Having Live Nation involved now, I mean, that's a huge deal. Yeah, and I'm very proud to know that guy.
I think he still scares some of those people because how hard he works.
I do think so.
I don't think there's, like you said, nobody will work that hard that I've ever met to build something.
Yeah.
And make something happen.
Yeah. He's the epitome of, like, having a dream and working for it. You know, that's why I love Kenny as much as I do, man. I consider him, like, a solid hero in my eyes, because he's taken something that, like, there's not a lot of people in this world can do, and, you know, most people will write off as impossible, and he'll do it.
Yeah.
You know, he makes it happen. And he's made this whole thing happen.
And, you know, and as Americans, like, we don't think of Canada a whole lot. And we're not like, usually we're just like, oh, there's not a whole lot happening up there.
Oh yeah,
that's totally a lot happening up there.
That's full crap. You know what? Now that we're on that, let me say this. Okay, so, you know, down here in our neck of the woods, you know, you see a lot of the culture, like, dying a little bit. You know, but it's alive and well up there. You know, to see it thriving the way it is, you know, it's very inspiring. That's what I had to say.
It really is.
That.
And you know what else I'm going to do that's inspiring? Is I'm going to go over here and fix his mic because it's pissing me the F off real quick.
Hey, welcome back.
Well, hello there. Hold
on.
Oh,
I'm slapping you in the face there.
Sorry.
We had a beer break and, you know, fix Scott's goofy mic situation there. Yeah. I think we got it now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My OCD was kind of going crazy.
I was too. It looked like
I was told not to touch
I'm
it,
not
so
going to say what it looked like.
What I was told. So.
I appreciate that. And just so y'all know, Donnie poured me, like, the most heady beer I've ever had in my life.
I'm not a bartender. I don't know how to do that.
Kit, you love a lot of head.
And that's why we have Scott here right now.
That's why we're not going live.
Well, it's still going to be in it.
one of many reasons.
So, yeah, no, we were talking about just Canada and how we think it's just a sleepy country, but no, man.
It's not. It absolutely is not.
The festival is amazing, and there's so many people. And what's cool is there's such a great amount of them that want like old school hard driving country music.
Yeah,
and that caught me off guard the first year, but they're
it's strong. It's strong up there.
That's redneck classes. They're up there.
Well, that's what Kenny was saying is that like what we have here at the hitching post, like they don't have that there. They don't have like the honky tonks.
Yeah, which is the whole idea behind us taking what we have here at the hitching post and going to Canada. So that's why Chad Borman came with us. Mo and Tina are actually serving hitching post pizza up there. They have their own section of the festival where hitching post pizza is its own thing up there.
It was amazing up there. I don't know what was different about the cheese, but holy
it was amazing,
crap,
wasn't it? But yeah, taking this
good.
whole vibe that we have down here at the hitching post and just transplanting that in the middle of that festival, I think went off pretty good this year.
I think so too.
We having the whole clan up there. George Gonzalez hung out with us, and we had a cool presence. I think
That was awesome.
a little bit of Arizona up in Canada.
Arizona
it was good.
representation.
Yeah.
Who would have thought Arizona and Canada? Like people were like, hey, we should take that Arizona band up here.
Well, it works because there's so many folks from that festival that know us from the hitching post down here in Arizona. That's one of the big reasons why we're there. And it's
what I think is cool about that too is like kind of going back to what I was saying, where you just like you wouldn't even know that was up there. Like as an American, like we're just like so. I don't want to say ignorant, but we just don't understand. What's up there. But it's like I feel like there's a lot of people that don't understand what's in Arizona.
Yeah, right.
Probably a lot of Canadians don't understand what's in Arizona. So they're like, this band that plays at a bar
Why are
in Arizona,
they here?
why are they here? I definitely felt that the first year.
Yeah.
And like people checked it out and they were kind of like, oh, we get it. And kind of like we were like, oh, we're going to a music festival in Canada.
Why is that happening?
All right, we rolled up there. We're like, oh, now we get it.
Yeah.
To the point that, like all the big acts like that have come through have just been like, man, this is like the coolest festival we've ever been to. And like a whole bunch of them are like, man, we would just like to come here and just hang out. We don't even have to play.
Lee Bryce making that proclamation. That's a big word for me to say right now.
Yeah, can you spell it?
No, I can't. But he, have him roll in the office and grace Kenny with praise Kenny with that kind of a compliment. That's an enormous deal right there. I mean that the vibe up there is. It's unspeakable, man. It's home. It's hometown. It's cool. Everybody. It's a lot of love.
It's amazing. I think the first year when you and I walked through the campgrounds, I think you guys ran back and we went and walked through that. Remember that first year?
Yeah.
And it was just the outpouring. People recognized us. People talked to us. And brought us in and drinks and
like played some of their games that they had at like the sites, like the ladders or whatever it's called, and like bean bags.
Oh yeah,
and the cornhole, I guess we call it here.
And it took us, I don't know.
It took us like an hour just to make the round, and it wasn't like we went like super deep into the camp. We just like.
Yeah,
we're just like walking, and we're like, "Hey!" People are like, "Hey, go hang with us!"
We've got to get back. Like they're just so open and so.
Some of the friendliest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
And not only the friendliest, but some of the best freaking food I've had in my whole life, man. Guerilla-Q.
Yes.
One more time.
Guerilla-Q. We're not even joking.
You guys
James
are
and Dave,
killer.
Lisa, Gary, Shannon, all those people.
Yeah, everybody.
I spent the whole weekend with them.
Yeah, you were yeah.
Well, I appreciate barbecue.
I know you do.
They had it going on, so I thought, might as well.
I took advantage of a lot more catering this year than I have in the past years,
dude.
And I'm so glad I had. I always wanted to kind of stay out of the way, but I
don't do it. You just need to take
that brisket. Oh
that.
My God, man.
That brisket every time. I rocked it.
So Greg was telling me that, except for this year, the corn came from somewhere else, but most of the vegetables come from their own family farm.
Yeah, they said that they were like a few weeks off from their corn. They have corn at their place, but everything was so good and so fresh. It was delicious.
Yeah.
The bread, man. Oh gosh, I don't know. I think they didn't make that, but it was still really good bread.
Oh, yeah.
Bread and butter was great, but the whole thing, man. And what's cool about them is everybody else can. Don't look at me like that.
You're making faces at me. I'm gonna make faces at you.
But Gary was talking about how much how much work goes into.
Gary. We're gonna edit that part.
You want to start that over?
Yeah. No, but yeah, we'll take that. We'll take that part out.
So he says.
Yeah,
I've had a few beverages.
Yeah, what's cool about them is everybody else can just throw their food together, but they have to plan everything out.
Yeah,
and you can't just make brisket when you run out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand how they could fill like such a demand, like especially last minute, because they had like several orders come up where they had to produce a certain amount of food. Yeah, I don't know, but they had something particular come up where they had to produce that. Yeah. And then on the spot right there, they had to do that, and that's a pretty impressive deal right there.
Tough order.
Yeah, very tough order.
But that's why they don't sleep.
No, they don't. Like, I think it was Dave was telling me, he's like, I've been up for 16 hours, and I'm not even done yet. I'm like, dude, and you smell like you've been living inside of the smoker, just so you know. Like, yeah, this
I didn't mind that
away.
So much.
He's like, this doesn't go away. I'm like, good thing, it smells good. The ladies like that. It's not like you're, in a manure pit or something,
right.
All day.
And you've been really good friends with all of them, since like day one.
Well, yeah. Well, since Sunday of the first year, I think the way I met them is I think I rolled up on Kenny's golf cart.
Yeah.
With the remember the bottle of Jack we didn't finish?
I remember. Yeah.
I went rolling around the campgrounds on Kenny's golf cart, and that was the only thing going on. So I roll up to their campground with a bottle of Jack Daniels half drink and Kenny's golf cart.
That's my boy.
And so they had questions.
Yeah. And you had answers. You were more than happy to oblige in their answers.
Yeah, we hung out that first night, and then we were pretty much kindred souls. And so since I like to try and learn how to barbecue, I have bothered James all year long, and then last year.
Yeah.
And then this year, I kind of set up camp. And they let me stash alcohol there, and
I noticed.
Drink and
I noticed that on this year, our third year, you spent as much time playing guitar as you did like hauling catering, helping those boys out.
Well, I wouldn't say I spent as much time hauling, but yeah, I'm sitting around.
Well, you did your fair share of moving food.
Well, I think everybody. It's the same. I think it's the same thing at that festival. I don't feel like I did very much to help them, but I think it's the same thing that we talked about earlier, that Kenny, from the top down, if something needs to be done at that festival, and you see it, you better get involved in it.
Yeah.
And just with how much he works, how do you
not?
Say I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to push a urinal, or I'm not going to go do this. I just think that's what's so special about that place is I've never seen that before, where so many people are so willing to just dive in and do whatever they can. Right. So I don't think I did much. Mostly I was sitting around and drinking whiskey. And every now and then, fortunately I'm built for lifting heavy things. So I can do that. And you sit down, and then we'll go do this, and it takes 30 seconds. But I think it comes from Kenny down. And
what's that? More hands makes easier work or something? Is that the saying?
Hands make light work.
There we go. That's it. So that's what you fully went into that, dude.
Well, I think we all have.
It's proud that to be a part of that.
I think that's pretty amazing, though. How the involvement from year one till now, we're kind of feel at home there.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Well, what's funny about that is, like, I don't know about you boys, but I felt right at home like the second we got there the first year. They were so inviting. Everybody was instant friends. It was
just an adventure to you're like, okay, what is this place like?
Yeah.
What's this like? And then
I was really worried, the first year we went up there because, we're kind of the outsiders, we're like the group of people that are over here with everybody else there. But not one time that I ever feel like that. The 3 years we've been doing that, instant family,
No, but now that we know the lay of the land,
yes,
and that makes it more comfortable.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
The first year they came with such open arms.
Yeah.
And that almost made it it's kind of a little bit
kind of put you back a little bit, your seat.
I do love it up there. Good people.
Yeah, I want to go back up there, just hang out. Not even necessarily. I'd like to just go and see some of the scene that's up there as far as music outside of the festival, and just going to Bellingham and just that whole area. Go hit up Seattle.
I had an amazing time in Bellingham.
Dude, I want to bring my wife up there.
We were talking about the same thing. me and Heather going up there and spending a couple of days. Puget Sound, that whole area. I don't know what it is about that, but I'm fascinated with like the fishing culture, I think it's just gorgeous, man. The only thing I was missing when we were up there, I think I told you, and you kind of blew me off a little bit, but like you have like the fuzzy turtleneck and the the fishing hat and whatever.
Get some hot cocoa, dude.
I just sweat a lot.
I was joking about that, by the way.
I would totally rock a turtleneck. Though.
I would rock a turtleneck.
You would, if it came down to it. You would have the turtleneck on, the green.
Well, You're damn right.
I think it'd be cool though to go down like kind of by like in the Cascade Mountains a little bit, like where it's basically like you're in a rainforest.
Yeah.
But it's not a rainforest. It's like just evergreen trees and stuff like that. It's just insane. Find some Sasquatch. I'll look for some Bigfoot. I'm not even scared. It's probably just Scott, but I'll still say I spotted one.
What's funny about that is there was one point where I was a little scared for my life because we were playing on the river stage at Merritt, and so that river stage, like we're facing a river, but right behind it on the side, there's like a big, thick, brush kind of forest thing, and I caught a glimpse of this big, burly figure, like stomping through the woods, and I got a little nervous. It was Chad Borman.
That's funny.
So it was a relief, but he could pull off a Sasquatch.
Yeah, he could. He's a lovable Sasquatch.
I was a little scared.
Well, he was on the hunt.
He's like the Jack Link Sasquatch.
Chad was, yeah. Messing with Chad Borman.
It'd be hard to follow him.
Kind of, I think
a camera crew.
It would be.
He's a big guy, but he's quick on his feet.
Yeah, he's nimble. Nimble, I think, is what I would call it.
I don't know if nimble's the right word, but
just give him nimble. Come on,
I'll give him.
Don't take that away from him.
It was cool having like all my buds up there. It was a lot of fun. And all of our buds. Having Chad and George hang out with us, getting to see. What was cool is, they know Kenny, from him, because, Kenny has a house down here in Gold Canyon, so he comes into the Hitching Post and hangs out with us, from time to time. Not so much last year because he's doing the tour.
Yeah.
But, they know him from here at the Hitching Post as, one of my buds. He gets up and plays with us. But, getting to watch them see Kenny of who he is.
Yeah.
That was really cool for me. It was fun to watch George's face light up. Okay, so the last night we were there, we did the big jam session, the closeout thing, and there was one point where I'm standing back playing guitar, Kenny's singing. I think we're doing like something like a standard, like Working Man Blues or something. But Kenny looks over at George and has George take a ride on the guitar for a little bit, and puts his arm around George and calls him his buddy and stuff. And I saw George just his face just light up, and that was a really cool moment for me.
Yeah.
Watching these boys see what it really is.
But that's like the inviting part. That's like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like it just continues to show. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and that's what's funny about Kenny, because they see him in here, and he's just sitting over there drinking his Diet Coke and hanging out, and they don't. Sorry about that, Kenny.
Oh, you're fine.
And but they don't
know.
See him on a big stage and something he's done his whole life, or the festival. Everybody knows him there.
Yeah,
and he's a big presence.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. So the tour that Kenny's doing right now is the Legends of Songwriting tour, which he's doing with on a regular basis with John Ellis is playing steel, Mike Shanishan is playing fiddle, Tom's playing flat top, and they're doing a tour around Canada where they do a bunch of standards, and then Kenny tells stories about the stories behind those songs, because Kenny knows he was very much a part of all those songwriters' life for a long time. In fact, Kenny worked under.
It was in the last podcast.
I can't remember what his name is. But he wrote Heartaches by the Number,
Yeah.
So Kenny has all the insight on all this stuff. So those boys are coming back down here for February to do the Southwest, arm of the tour, and we're gonna get them down here at the Hitching Post and do full band.
That'd be sick.
It's gonna be awesome. We're do a couple days here at the Hitching Post, a ticket audience, and to expose the folks that we know around here to a little bit of what happens up in Canada is something I'm really looking forward to. It's going to be a cool thing.
Absolutely. It'd be cool, too, because then we can play some of his songs, too.
Absolutely.
Which, I don't think he's been doing that on this tour.
Mm-mm. No, he's just been doing, the big ones, the big hits.
Yep. He keeps threatening that he's going to bring us on that tour with him.
Yeah, well, I think that opportunity in February is going to make it happen. You know, it's
I'm gonna look amazing in a nudie suit. That's all I gotta say.
There's no way in hell I'm wearing a nudie suit.
I don't think there's any way in hell Kit can sit down wearing one.
My body is not built for a nudie suit, and I know yours isn't. No. I know. You know, I've been on the road with you. I know what your body looks like.
It doesn't look good nudie, let alone a suit.
Does Kenny wear one?
Oh yeah, he rocks that.
Yeah, he rocks that stuff. Yeah.
Rocks it like a hurricane. Like it.
And I got a little taste of it because last year they were down here. You know, the whole group was down here doing like a showcase performance, and I sat in for Tom while Tom was up in Canada. You know, doing his gig up there, and so I got a little taste of it. It's pretty cool, man. You know, I had to wear the whole cowboy hat, you know, the suit jacket, the whole thing. So I'm not looking forward to a nudie suit, but
you'll do what you got to do.
I'll do it for Kenny.
Why didn't we get pictures of that?
Because
I was taking mental pictures.
I look like Haas from Bonanza when I wear a cowboy hat. It's not a pretty sight,
dude. I don't even know what I'd look like with a cowboy hat. I feel like I'd be.
I've seen you with a cowboy hat. I've seen you with a cowboy hat and the silver glasses, and you look like Hank Jr.
100%. 100%. That's one of the best pictures ever. Right. And I've sold that off as like I'm hanging with Hank Jr. And people are like, it's pretty close.
That's pretty close.
And you say that, and then I'm sitting there just like I feel like a doofus, like a dork.
Well, you're a doofus anyway.
Yeah, but that's like one of those things where I'm just like, oh my god, I'm a poser.
Which brings me to another point I'd like to talk about with you.
Yes.
Never mind. We'll talk about that later.
Are we? All right.
I feel like we should do that right now.
Everybody wants to know.
Okay, so when Brian Cuban introduced us, you know, we got to know each other because I was in need of a drummer when I was playing up at the Buffalo Chip in Cave Creek, and I was looking for a country drummer. And I was introduced to you, which was not a country drummer.
Not a country drummer.
And you come from, like, you know, the fish world.
Fish world.
So my question for you is, like, you know, you've been with me for 8 years now. Uh-huh. You know,
I feel like this is going to be a loaded question here. All right, bring it.
Not loaded, but I'm curious, like, what your opinion is now of, like, I mean, you probably thought country was extremely hokey or something before this.
I absolutely did. So if I'm 100% completely honest about that, I did, and it took me a while. Okay.
Tell us.
As far as like living the lifestyle goes, like I still don't think I could like be like, hey, I'm gonna put a cowboy hat on and some cowboy boots and like roll in here with some like tight ass jeans and everybody be like, hey, look at Kid, he's totally that person. Well, like if I rolled in like that, I feel like everybody'd be like, I think somebody needs to kick Kit's ass right now because I don't know what the hell he's doing. Like, but as far as like the music goes, like I at first, like it was completely different to me, and it was very, it wasn't comfortable, you know, like because I came in, I had my idea how I needed to approach a song.
Yeah.
And then, you know, after a few weeks of Cliff wanting to throttle me and then you come and giving me looks where I'm just like, I don't know what that means yet, you know. Eventually we'd talk about it and you'd be like, okay, it needs to be, you know, like way simpler. You need to play this song, like especially like if we got into like a Waylon song or, you know, Keith Whitley song, you know, or it's just like it's not a whole lot. Like you kept saying that it was a drum machine, you know, and like I would take that literally. I'm just like, okay, so I'm just gonna dunk, and just like, yeah, no, that's absolutely what I want. I'm like, well, that's really hard for me, you know. Yeah. Like it made it really hard, and that's actually what made it like a little bit of a what's the word? It made it so that I had to work at it, and that's not what the word I'm trying to say, but it was something that I had to completely change my approach to playing drums and completely change my approach to playing with a band.
Yeah. And
that made it really fun and really interesting for me because I had to be engaged with what I was doing and really think about what I was doing and, you know, make sure that I was approaching it like I was, you know, fitting into this song as opposed to just, you know, playing over and just doing whatever the hell I wanted.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, like I've got a whole new appreciation for what makes a song, interesting. Like when I used to look at country songs like it was like simple. Like I used to think they were just simple songs.
And most people do.
And it's completely changed now. It's like it's more like you have to know what the focus is. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Makes total
So
sense.
like. That's made me appreciate that, and it's changed my approach on how I handle like other styles of music. Where back in the day, I came from like a progressive rock kind of thing, and it was just like, all right, just play, and just do whatever. And if it lines up with anybody else, you can point at each other on stage and be like, yeah, that was an accident, But with this, it's just like, all right, you know what you're gonna play. Everybody has their spots that they kind of show off a little bit, but the drummer doesn't tend to do that. You're just there laying it down, having a solid groove, and you're just making sure there's room for everybody else. Sometimes we have our cool stuff with like the bluegrass type stuff or a little bit rocking, but for the most part, it's just like making sure that I understood where I fit, in the picture.
Yeah, and that's a big point right there. And the reason I brought that up was, so I've known you for almost 9 years now. Mm-hmm. And when I first met you, it was very much a progressive rock kind of thing. That's the attitude that you had. And you've come from, somebody you would not consider yourself to be a country folk at all, to where you are now, which is you spent the last week, getting, highly praised by one of the biggest producers in Canada of country music.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? I would have thought. But that's a pretty big growth right there.
Absolutely.
And I totally forgot what I was going to say right there.
You love me. You like looking at my eyes.
Don't go that far. Don't go that far. I'm proud of you though.
Well, I appreciate that.
It's not that you've come a long way because you haven't. You've always been a tremendous musician, but it's cool to see you be accepted by other people other than me, people that really are involved in all this stuff, and only because of you being who you are and knowing music as much as you do. But what I think you're wrong about is playing country music and being a country musician is not about it's not about wearing a cowboy hat or tight jeans or cowboy boots.
Absolutely what I realized.
Country isn't just the stereotype. Country is like carrying on a tradition, a sonic tradition, that we've all been handed down to us from whatever genre that would be. And you've done a really good job at that. And
thank you.
And now you have Tom McKillop loving you.
Was that a view straight to Tom?
That was right for Tom.
What it was funny talking to Tom though, because I did have for the first time, because the first 2 years we played with that dude, we didn't really talk a whole lot because we never really had any time because he was out when he was done, and beforehand we never had a real rehearsal. So as far as it all went, we all just kind of got together. We're like, hey, this is how we're counting off this song, or we're playing it in this key, or who has this intro, like it wasn't really like, hey, I'm Tom, this is what I do. And didn't really have the whole introduction. So we actually had a sit down there, and he asked me where my background was. I'm like, well, I'm actually a rocker. Well, that's what everybody would say, that I came from a rock background and drum corps. And he was like, really? It's like, usually you can sit down and you could tell when you're playing with a rock drummer. He's like, you didn't do that. And I was just like, well, I'm chameleoned into this all right then,
it's funny that you categorize yourself like that, as being a rock drummer, but you're not a rock drummer.
I don't really think that anymore.
You're a mathematician.
A mathematician.
Honestly,
I was terrible at math.
Yeah, so was I. But I mean, you are a musician of numbers. Mm-hmm. Like you can count, and surprisingly, there's not a whole lot of drummers, especially that I've ever met that actually know how to count, that know how to that have that internal clock, that can read a chart, and that's what really got excited me about you. When I first met you, was the fact that you can do that. I think the first song that we played together, ironically, was Working Man Blues. I remember that day because you came into our little rehearsal session with this drum set that looked like it was going to Mars or something. And
3, 2, 1.
And I said, just play this how you feel it. And it was
totally
it was
exactly what you expected it to be.
But what I heard in that was, I your meter. I heard your meter.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm done fluffing you now.
That's all right. I mean, if you're trying to kind of go into some of my background there, I mean, it was as far as my meter goes, that all came from drum corps. Like everything that was ever done, it's all rudiments. Like and for laymen, it's like how to make your hands and your feet and everything about like there's so many rhythms, right? Like you can play something like da 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 da, right? But it's not necessarily always going to be right left right left. It might be right left right right or left right left left or different stickings, and they have different called rudiments when you start changing it up like that. So because of that, you have to understand how that lines up to the metronome and the click.
Yeah.
And then when you're in drum corps, you have to do everything with your feet moving like you're walking or marching, right?
Yeah.
So you have to understand not only how those rhythms work with the metronome, but you got to understand how they work with your feet. And then you got to understand how all these rhythms fit into a measure of, we'll just say 4/4 in this instance.
Yeah.
And that really helped me a lot with figuring out, how to make, my hi-hat needs to play this. That's giving me my main time. My snare drum needs to fall at this certain point with my hands, and then same thing with my feet. But going into that, when I started playing with Donny Grubb band, that's what I appreciated about. That's what really, like we said, I came into this as a rock drummer.
Yeah.
And who would have thought I would be here for almost 9 years?
Yeah, not only here, but as somebody who is sought after by everybody that I ever come across, especially here in town. Kit Haloff is the drummer. He's the guy in town.
Well, that's nice of you to say.
Well, I'm not giving you any more money.
I haven't really experienced that, but that's awesome. Thank you. But the point that I was about to make, though, is that the big thing that really made that awesome was, one, I could play with Cliff.
Yeah.
Once me and Cliff kind of figured out what we were doing, that made it awesome. And then two, working with you and your solos and just playing in general, I haven't played with a lot of guitarists that understand rhythm themselves.
Yeah.
Usually it's just, okay, here's a solo. Hopefully I get to the end of it and I finish it with everybody, the rhythm is just kind of a guideline, but you definitely, I think there's not a lot of guitarists that could sit down to a click track and play the same thing twice.
Well, I get off on that. That's always been my thing, man. I love that. I love playing with a click. I love playing with a metronome. Honestly, the truth is I'm a guitar player who always wanted to be a drummer. And I played drums in junior high and school.
You're much better drummer than I am a guitar player.
No, I'm not. But thank you. But But I pride myself on on counting also. That's a big deal to me. Repeating things and continuity is a huge thing.
Absolutely,
that's what makes a band tight is continuity.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree with that. And that's another thing that I really liked is that we would set definitions. And early on in the game, I remember us being I remember getting a few looks from everybody being like, hey, man, that's not the right time. So then the Cliff would give me a time, and then we play it that way. And then I'd have you turn back to me and be like, hey, man, that wasn't the right time on that. I'm like, but Cliff, all right. And I'm like, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to bring in a metronome. I'm going to play with that every time, and then all y'all can screw off.
I loved that. I rarely have I ever gotten, I'm spoiled now. I don't know how I'm ever going to go back to it if inevitably you get off, on a big gig, but getting to play with a guy who understands a click is, it's like playing in heaven every night, even on the worst freaking nights, where nothing's working and right. That is always working, and that's a cool thing. I'm not giving you any more money.
It's okay. You don't have to. I'll ask for that next year.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm done fluffing Kit.
Let's fluff Scott now. It's Scott's fluffing.
That's gonna be a short conversation.
Done.
Bathroom break after that.
Well, I said Scott's name. I think we're done now.
That pretty much covers it.
Well, Scott's funny because we met him because he knew what Donnie's guitar was.
Craziest thing in the world, man. So Scott rolls into the Buffalo Chip one night. We're playing with we're playing
somebody
up
who should not be named.
We're playing up at the Buffalo Chip in Cave Creek, and Scott comes rolling in. Just another guy. First of all, people are gonna hate me for saying this, but like nobody ever asked me for a Waylon song in Cave Creek ever. Except for Scott. Scott comes up and said, "Hey, do you know any Waylon?" Like, well, yeah, I know a shitload. What do you want?
I think it was like Cedartown, Georgia.
Yeah, no, it was Honky Tonk Heroes, and no, we didn't do that.
We still don't do that.
But I had my Nocaster with me that night, and he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, is that a no shit Nocaster?" I'm like, who the hell are you?
Right?
What? No one's ever asked me that,
right?
ever.
Just out of the blue.
Yeah. He goes, "You're a player." I'm like, "No, I'm not." And he goes, "That's what
And
a player would say." You would be wrong.
Yeah, so Scott and I were friends right there.
And Scott didn't really know how to play a whole lot back then.
Still don't.
From what I remember.
Oh, wait,
but you are light years from where you started.
Yeah, I remember, so me and Scott started hanging out, and we played flat top together a little bit, and that was back when we were first starting this hitch and post thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I think at that time, did we have a full band, or
well, yeah,
was I doing
you had
the
a full
acoustic
band.
thing?
It started. I think you guys played. I
few
was
nights
married
a
at
week,
that
yeah.
moment.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly thereafter, I wasn't, but I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at the Buffalo Chip.
Yeah, we were sharing this gig with the Buffalo Chip.
You came down here, so
Tuesday,
I just
Wednesday,
kind of went
Friday.
back and forth, and I hung out and watched you guys play. So
yeah, and Mo and Tina here at the Hitching Post, they owned another spot in Gold Canyon called the Hitching Post 2. And I started doing acoustic nights down there on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Or
let's go with
Tuesdays,
Wednesday.
or whatever day it was. So I invited Scott to come out and sit in and play guitar with me, and just learn some songs or whatever. And there was one night where I'll never forget this. But so it's just me and Scott down at the Hitch and Post 2 in Gold Canyon, and we're just chunking along doing acoustic songs, and he'd reach into the microphone and try to sing with me every once in a while. And I'd say we went on break, and I said, "Scott, if you lean in, then I'm coming off. We can't both be singing lead at the same time. So if you're going to sing something, get up there and sing it.
Don't be a bitch. Sing it.
Don't
Pretty
be a
much.
bitch." And then from that point, where Scott's playing, handful of chords, he knows a couple songs, to now where we're playing in front of thousands of people. Scott, that's a lot of ground covered in a very short amount of time.
We're still working on the volume knob.
well, maybe, but yeah, it is pretty wild. Like I have no idea what I'm doing, but I remember.
Neither do I.
I remember actually I lived in Tulsa, and it started one night where I came in here, and I've been coming here where I was getting ready to move out here full time. Or I actually had just moved out here full time. Yeah. And you said, "What are you doing tomorrow night?" And I'm like, "Well, stupid, probably coming out here to hang out and listen to you guys play music, because it's something I've always wanted to be involved with." And you said, "Well, bring your flat top." I'm like, "Okay." So I think it was like 3:30 in the morning conversation.
Yeah.
And we all know how that goes.
Yeah, so the next day I didn't bring it. And thank
Right.
you, whiskey. But I didn't bring it, and you got mad at me.
Yeah, I did.
And so the next night I brought it, and it started with like one song here. And you said you might play one song, you might play one set, you might not play at all. And it just went from this weird thing to...
Now we can't get rid of them.
Now I can't.
Yeah, well, I just wouldn't leave, and I don't think you thought I would stay here this long. But all he told me, he goes, "Stand right here beside me, pay attention, and hang on."
Sounds about right.
And that's and I still have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, that's how I learned guitar, man. I remember, growing up, I learned some rudimentals from my family, and then I started hanging out at bars at a very inappropriate age. And the
It's
old
like a song right there, dude.
the old guys that I'd cling on to, man. They'd say, if you're gonna bring a guitar in, then be prepared to stand here and don't get in the way and just watch, just learn. And that's I think that's the best way to learn.
Oh, absolutely.
I've got to say it's been one of the best best things in my life, where it's something I always wanted to do, and I still hope one of these days I'm going to figure out how to do it. But it's been a great experience, you know, and you guys have been so open and like amazing. And we just got back from Canada. I don't know how that's
third time.
Yeah,
it's a cool thing.
That's
man.
Weird, man. Like, I don't know what happened.
This may sound stupid, but you know, the past 8 years of us doing this thing, this Hitch and Post thing, and this Donny Grubb band thing, has been my favorite time playing music my whole life. I've been doing this my whole life, and you know what we're doing now is my favorite thing I've ever done.
Absolutely, I would absolutely have to agree with that.
I think it's a weird thing. Like there's this odd like chemistry going on around everybody that's involved in this, from people at the Hitching Post to people in Canada to people around you, Donny and Kit, and but it's growing and it just keeps building momentum, and it seems to be year after year there seems to be more and more people that are pulled into the circle.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I feel like we're blessed, man. You know, it's a cool experience. You know, it's something I never thought I'd ever get to do. You know, what we just did last week and what we've done the past couple years, you know, is something I never thought I'd ever see myself doing.
Yeah, especially
we
8
played
years ago.
I mean, we got
playing
to
at the
hang out.
Buffalo Chip. You know,
we got to play on the main stage, and we did an 8 stage
Yeah.
slot. That's a big deal.
that is a huge deal.
That's a
You had 2
sign in
slots
people's
on the main
cowboy.
stage.
Yeah, that's right.
Last
we did.
week, by the way,
We
one
did.
of them in front of like 13,000 people or so.
Yeah, that nothing ever tops that feeling right there, man. You know, I was telling Kenny, that like nothing ever beats that feeling of like, you're focused on what you're doing, and then when you get a second to like breathe, you look up, and then there's a sea of thousands of people that like doesn't ever stop, and then everybody's like appreciative of what you're doing.
Yeah,
You know, that's an amazing feeling that I don't know. There's no amount of whiskey that could ever like equal. Yeah, okay. So there's no amount of whiskey that could ever equal that high that you get from from doing that. That's
absolutely.
No,
it's such an
you were
amazing
sober
thing.
all week.
I was sober all week. I
You
worked
didn't
my
drink
ass off.
One drop, but
I had one drink on Saturday afternoon. Yeah. So I bought a big bottle of Jack. I got one drink out of that.
That might be my fault.
And that's Scott's Turn's fault.
Yeah. but I will say that another cool thing is, because you guys were playing the main stage and going out front, even when it was early, when you guys were doing your thing, and just how big the sound was from out front, because thanks to you, I had these magic passes that I could walk around back and forth, so I could go from side stage and basically right beside you, and then walk out front. Mm-hmm. But going out front and just how big everything was from that main stage sound, and then to watch the people quickly fill that place in.
Yeah,
that was a pretty cool thing from my side, because when it comes down to it, I still love sitting around and listening to good old-fashioned country music. Yeah. And that's never going to change. And it was cool to see both sides of that, where
Absolutely.
you could see it from over here, and since you guys were busy, I could go out front and then listen to the other side of it. But it was just that sound.
Absolutely.
And the people filing in and just running past you to get right up to the front and watching it, and then go back up front and see them. Like, it's a pretty cool event, I think.
That's got to be cool. It's got to be different too, because being on the main stage, like, I don't know if you noticed, but it was like it's very quiet where we stand.
Yeah.
It's very, very quiet, and then like you get out to where the audience is, it's just like boom, you know.
It's not, and it was like the most amazing sound out front too, where it's not. It's big.
Yeah.
And it's not overly loud, but yeah, the people.
That's one of the biggest difference from like playing in the bar scene to playing the big stage, is like all the detail that you get from the way the sound is set up, and like when you're playing on stage, I could hear every little tiny mistake that I'm making.
Yeah.
I can hear all the details in it. And when we're playing in this setting, it's a small area, it's a bar thing, so it's all like a big just wall of sound kind of thing, But having that separation and that clarity it's a cool feeling, man. It's unbeatable. it's a high that I want.
I want to do more of it. I want
that
way
back.
more.
There's still 13,000 people there, so that was cool, right?
Yeah, that's very cool.
I have a feeling like I think we played to more people than that Beck and Cage the Elephant concert that I went to. And those guys are huge. Granted, they were doing this night after night, but you know the point I'm making. Like it's cool being able to.
It's very cool. I'm still high on this whole thing, so yeah, I'm still geeking out about it.
I sent a picture to my daughter. She still didn't care.
Well, she's a teenager. She doesn't know how cool her dad is. You're hanging out with rock stars. She doesn't know.
Speaking of rock stars, I think you haven't brought up last year.
So brought it up every single podcast.
Kit was a little disappointed that Chad Kroger wasn't there.
I think he was because he wanted to be a rock star.
I would have hung out with Chad again.
But speaking,
I think we're embarrassing him.
To what you said earlier about bragging on Kit, that's another guy that was totally enthralled with Kit.
Yeah,
that completely surprised me last year, to be honest.
Make fun of him or not,
it shouldn't be surprising. I mean, that guy is a part of one of the biggest selling rock bands of all time.
Yeah,
and
2000 they had like the #1 song for the whole decade of the 2000s.
Yeah, and he was all over you.
He was.
And I'm telling you, you're. I'm done fluffing you because I don't got any more money to give you.
Just keep it coming.
Chad Kroger has some money.
He does have a few dollars.
I'm done talking about Kit.
My fault.
Well, it is an hour into this thing.
Already?
I know you finished, fluffing me there, but was there anything else you wanted to speak about before?
So we got the weekend of Kit, and now we got the podcast of Kit.
Which Kit do you like better?
It is the month
Which
of Kit.
Kit do you like better? Do you like the podcast Kit or the drum Kit?
Well, I'll tell you this. On an ending note, we had a lot of fun up in Canada. It's an amazing trip. Every time we go, it's like a break from reality for a little bit, and it's a hard thing to give up. But I'm glad we're home.
I'd like it to be reality.
Coming back to Hitching Post, there nothing quite feels like coming home. So I'm glad to be back. Even with blown amplifiers and whatever, it's still good to come home.
It is, but yeah, that is an amazing experience up there.
Absolutely. I highly suggest it. If you've never been to Canada and you like country music, even if you don't like country music, the hang is just so cool. I would totally tell anybody that I know, I would say, I don't care if you like country music or not, you should totally go to this. It's an experience, man. It's
like any music festival, man. It's all about community. It's all about.
But like we're saying, it's not like any festival. It's like
it's unique.
The people are awesome. The people are cool.
Oh, yeah.
The experience, it's just the whole vibe of the thing is just awesome. So I mean, honestly, I would tell anybody that I know that is absolutely a place I would go and check out.
I would say if you're going to go to one music festival for your whole life.
Yeah. Wow.
Rock and River Music Festival.
Rock and River.
That's saying some
Merritt,
cool stuff right
2020. Because if you're I've been to a few, and I've never experienced anything like that in my entire life.
Yeah, and I can't wait for next year because you know why?
Oh, let's talk about it.
Keith Urban, baby. Keith Urban is headlining next year. That's going to be a good time.
I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be awesome.
I do appreciate some Keith Urban.
I really do. I appreciate me some Keith Urbans. For all our Letterkenny friends out there.
You're a dork.
That show's fantastic.
Well, I'm out of whiskey, man.
I'm out of beer.
I've been out of whiskey.
All right. Well, everybody have a great week. Don't forget to check out YouTube, check out Facebook, check out the podcast apps. We're going to be on all those.
And don't forget to check out the Hitching Post.
The Hitching Post.
Where you're actually playing live.
Yep.
We're here Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Don't forget that.
Right here. Hess, Rock and River Fest, and all that fun stuff.
You ready for our trip to Minnesota?
Yes.
I am too.
It's going to be nice and cool
again
compared to this place.
We are playing with Lone Star.
Lone Star.
Really?
Lone Star. Yeah, absolutely, man.
That's
I love
awesome.
Lone Star. I still do. I don't want to say loved. I love Lone Star. They're a great band.
Continue.
So, yeah,
we're
going to be at Raleigh's, Long Necks and
Rednecks and Long Necks.
Long Necks and Rednecks in St. Cloud, Minnesota on what day?
September 7th.
September 7th. with Lone Star.
The year of the Lord 2019.
That's the one. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm tired. Let's go home.
All right. Peace.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us this week. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so, please go and check out our Facebook page and leave a like on that. We are also on YouTube, and we would really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon. Feel free to leave us any comments. We do read them, and we'd like to respond to you. Also, if you haven't done so yet, go check us out on your favorite podcast app. We should be on there. And hit a subscribe on that, and you can listen to us, just our beautiful vocal cords only. Again, we appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week.